A single investor calculated a precise mathematical vulnerability, executed a relentless trade, and forced a global superpower to surrender its flagship currency policy. 24 hours later, he walked away with $1 billion in profit. The date was September 16, 1992, now recorded as Black Wednesday. The investor who pulled the trigger was George Soros. His target was the Bank of England, the institution responsible for the economic stability of the entire United Kingdom. Soros identified a severe structural flaw in a government-mandated financial system and applied the specific pressure required to break it. By examining the mechanics of this trade, we expose a fragility that still exists within many modern, artificially managed financial systems. This diagram shows the European Exchange Rate Mechanism, or the ERM. It was designed to force economic unity by locking different national currencies together on a single axis, requiring them to move in perfect synchronization. But a major economic contradiction emerged. Germany was booming after reunification. To prevent inflation, they aggressively raised interest rates, pulling the entire tethered system upward. Simultaneously, the UK was in a recession with high unemployment. They needed lower interest rates to encourage growth, but the mechanical tether to Germany was pulling them in the opposite direction. To maintain the illusion of a stable currency peg, the Bank of England held British interest rates painfully high, effectively penalizing their own citizens to stay in the system. Tying two opposing economies together through artificial policy creates a structural lie, and when market reality clashes with policy, the tether is destined to snap. Soros recognized this contradiction and realized the British government had backed itself into a corner with no viable defense. To break the system, he used a massive short sale. Step 1. Soros used immense leverage to borrow billions of pounds from global banks. Step 2. The moment those borrowed pounds hit his accounts, he sold them on the open market for a more stable currency, specifically the German mark. Step 3. This massive flood of sell orders caused the value of the pound to plummet as other investors panicked and sold their own holdings. Step 4. Once the price crashed, Soros used his German marks to buy back the now cheap pounds at a discount. He returned the borrowed units to the banks and kept the difference as profit. This strategy only works if the investor bets so aggressively that the central bank runs out of money trying to support its own currency. On the morning of September 16th, Soros unleashed $10 billion in sell orders, putting the Bank of England under immediate extreme pressure. The bank was required by treaty to buy up these excess pounds to keep the price stable. They began spending their foreign currency reserves at an unsustainable rate. As reserves drained, the UK government attempted a desperate defense, rapidly raising interest rates from 10% to 12%, and then a staggering 15% within just a few hours. A 15% interest rate during a recession was a disaster for the public, instantly threatening to bankrupt anyone with a mortgage. Soros saw these rate hikes as a sign of weakness. He knew the British economy couldn't sustain them, ignoring the bluff to continue selling. When market forces call the bluff of a central bank, artificial defenses eventually fail. At 7:30 p.m., the UK officially surrendered and exited the ERM. Without the artificial support, the British pound's value dropped 15% almost instantly. Soros secured a $1 billion profit in a single day. Meanwhile, British taxpayers were left with the bill for a deepened recession and local business failures. Black Wednesday proves that governments can manipulate markets and fix rates temporarily, but the underlying reality of supply and demand always forces a correction. These artificial systems create distortions that benefit those who can spot the math, while the public pays the price for the eventual crash. The 1992 crisis demonstrates that any currency relying on government manipulation to maintain an illusion of value is inherently fragile. True financial security comes from recognizing these artificial distortions and anchoring your wealth and assets that are governed by market math, not by a central bank's policy.